Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We'd like to thank Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine open now through December, featuring great racing, including the King's Plate coming up in August, Turf Champions Day with the Woodbine Mile in September, and much, much more. Woodbine Racing, great racing north of the border. America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow in the studio as usual. On a Sunday morning, we'll do some review. Nice stakes action yesterday at Parx. Some stakes also worth taking a look at Churchill. And, of course, we had stakes action also at Belmont as well. So we will take a look at those this morning and preview a little bit later on. So some review and some preview coming up. Anthony Stabile towards the end of the show from Finger Lakes. They have a nice stakes day tomorrow. 3 stakes out at Finger Lakes that attracted some interesting runners, and we'll preview that coming up a little bit later on as well. Before we get started, let me alert you that it is a football Sunday here at the Clubhouse Racebook. So we'd love to have you stop on by this afternoon and enjoy all the racing action and all the football action. You can play the horses. You can win a little something, put your name on the squares. You can watch all the football action right here every Sunday throughout the NFL season. Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, we'll take a look here at some of the action yesterday from Parx. Scheduled post time for the 14th yesterday was 6:40. As I look at the chart, actually went off at 7:19, and they're a little further south, so I guess it's light. Geographically speaking, it is light a little bit later. Out my window when this was run here, it was dark. If you looked at the race down there, it was. Jessica Paquette said, as the sun sets, and it was getting dark there too. There was certainly some consternation during the day with Parx. The turf situation on social media took a little hit. And, on a big day at a track like that, you have that one big day a year. Some of the criticism was probably deserved, that they scheduled enough races that, obviously, again, it went off well over a half an hour, went about 40 minutes later than it was supposed to. But on a big day, you can get delays like that. And then that they took one of their turf stakes off the turf on a day where there was no weather. They just admittedly, their turf course is not good. I said yesterday, it hasn't been for years. You would think they would invest in that turf course a little bit because turf racing is so popular. You have the turf course. There were some pictures on social media. And you didn't need those. You could just watch that the one turf race they ran, and you could see that is not a lush turf course, to say the least. And as I say, if they put a little money into it, they could have a nice turf season as well, which I think would benefit them. But again, so there was a little bit of criticism. And as I say, some of it was deserved. I think that maybe they didn't have things planned out as well as could have been on their big day. All that said, still wound up to be a nice day of racing. Pennsylvania Derby and the Catillon certainly played out nicely, and we'll take a look at those. But again, in the gloaming, as they say, the late day diminishing sun, it was race number 14 going off at about 20 after 7, the Parx Sprint. We'll watch the stretch run here. It'll be number 11, Top Gunner, getting it done for Brad Cox. Michael Dubb and company, Flavian Prat on board. Number 11, Top Gunner will win by 2.5 at 4-1. 90% Matty. Nice run to get it. The nose second place finished the 10 horse at 11-1, and Vison runs third at 10-1. So it was a nice battle there for second, certainly, but it is a win. You can see the light is clearly dominating there, the light at the finish line in the impending darkness. But regardless of how light it was, Top Gunner got it done. Interesting. Off a claim up at Saratoga for Michael Dubb. So clever claim. Claims the horse on the 4th of August at Saratoga, moves into the barn of Brad Cox, and a few weeks later wins a $100,000 stake with the horse. So again, immediately gets the return on investment. And I do have the buyers here. Top Gunner gets a 98 in the Parx Sprint. Also, obviously, on the day, the highlight was race number 13, lucky race number 13, the Pennsylvania Derby. I took a shot with Unmatched Wisdom, the 8 horse, who went off as the second choice. Dragoon Guard is going to be the favorite here at 5-2, the 7 horse. Unmatched Wisdom, the 8th, though. I'm going to give up on this guy. You can see him there in the Klarovich Silks running 5th and just doesn't have a whole lot. Up front, though, it Seize the Gray, the number 2, taking them all the way around. Going to wind up pulling away by 3 3/4 pretty decisively. Stronghold will hold on to second, the number 11. And Dragoon Guard, again, the 5-2 favorite, runs third. Uncle Heavy, the Pennsylvania bred from Butch Reed, runs 4th in there. Unmatched Wisdom was a little bit disappointing to me. I thought Protective from Todd Pletcher could be a player at 11-1. That one finished 10th in the field of 11, and the 11th horse essentially walked home. So that was not a good performance either from Protective. But Seize the Gray does get it done, not only for D. Wayne Lucas and Jaime Torres, but for My Racehorse. And if you saw the pictures, the My Racehorse, the micro share company, which I have to admit I don't quite get, but why you'd want to be involved. But they had a typical huge number of people in the winner's circle, but there were too many people for the winner's circle, so they actually took the photo out on the track with a ton of the My Racehorse partners out there enjoying the victory. Seize the Gray, the Preakness winner, gets it done. Since the Preakness had started in the Belmont and the Jim Dandy, and of course the Belmont this year was up at Saratoga, as was the Jim Dandy. Did not fare well in either of those. 7th in the Belmont, 4th in the Jim Dandy, 4th by 12, so well beaten behind Fierceness and Sierra Leone and Batten Down. That name will come up again a little bit. So out of the Jim Dandy, D. Wayne Lucas kind of said, you know what are our options here? Go in the Travers over a track he doesn't seem to like, or should we shoot for the Pennsylvania Derby? They shot for the Pennsylvania Derby. He had been training up here at Saratoga, had a workout 8 days ago, 9 days ago now, 8 days before the race, right up here at Saratoga. We talked to Tim Wilkin yesterday, who was actually friendly with Wayne Lucas. And Wayne had actually, after the meet, gone back down to Kentucky, left the horse up in Saratoga with an assistant. So the horse had been working up here, got down to Parx earlier this week. And again, took him all the way around, essentially what he did in the Preakness. And people on Twitter kept saying, geez, they just keep letting this horse go out there and lead him all the way around. How can they do that? You look down the past performances, and yeah, he won the Pate Mile. That wasn't on the lead. The Preakness was on the lead, and yesterday was on the lead. But in between the Preakness and that one, he lost a couple. So they keep letting him do it. I don't quite get. He's done it a couple of times, and it's just a smart ride by Torres. He got out there and he said, I wasn't expecting that early lead, but he gets out there and in 23 and change, 49 and change, 113, 139 for the mile. He had enough left to pull away in the stretch, and at $10.60, Seize the Gray. Now, kind of, I suppose, becomes a player for seasonal honors, perhaps with a Triple Crown victory in the Pennsylvania Derby. I mean, I think Dornock, to me, is probably ahead of him. Mystic Dan's probably still ahead of him on the sidelines, but Mystic Dan got back to training this week, if you didn't see. And Fierceness, I think, with the talent he's shown when he's running his best, probably right now in a lot of people's minds is at the top of the class with the win in the Jim Dandy and the win in the Travers. But again, I think Seize the Gray at least throws his hat in the ring, so to speak. 97 buyer for Seize the Gray, so decent number. Not a spectacular one, but a very decent number. Seize the Gray taking the Pennsylvania Derby. One of the races we were all looking forward to yesterday, obviously the Pennsylvania Derby was the big race, but I think we all wanted to see Torpedo Anna in the Catillon. And the odds were very interesting. And I get it. She deserves to be the favorite at 10 cents to the dollar, but she deserves to be the favorite. 10 cents to the dollar was probably a little bit short. She has certainly done well against her own kind, and she got it done yesterday. She had to work for it, though. Again, didn't quite win like a 1-9 shot. You can see here the chart margin winds up to be a neck as Brian Hernandez kind of just flashes the whip there a little bit. Gunsong ran very well. I had Gunsong down in the third spot. But again, the odds were funny because you got 1-9, which, as I say, probably a little short on Torpedo Anna. But that made everybody else kind of crazy. Gunsong was 10-1 on the morning line, 44-1. Tarifa ran third at 13-1, and Mystic Lake at 7-1. Mystic Lake, Ella Starr liked them yesterday. I was not her. I was not that thrilled with Mystic Lake, but Mystic Lake was the second choice. Power Squeeze was the horse I had used underneath. The third choice at 11-1. Oof. The chart says far back, no factor, and was seventh in the field of 8. So Power Squeeze, the Alabama winner, just does not show up yesterday under Irod Ortiz. Torpedo Anna did. She had been training up here also and had a nice little workout just a week ago, yesterday. Kenny McPeak kind of said that, they were not really tightening the screws. He said, I didn't want to work her too hard. I thought she could go out and get it done regardless. And he said that's kind of what happened. She was just too good for these, had to work a little bit, but just too good for these. And it sounds like they will ship back within the next day or two up here to Saratoga to kind of move forward towards the Breeders' Cup. I mean, she's been such a monster up here. They're constantly tweeting out the McPeak social media guys and gals, tweeting out the workouts, her out on the track in the morning on the Oklahoma. And Wayne Lucas said he kept Seize the Gray up here. He said he didn't seem to like the main track, but he was doing Seize the Gray. I'm talking about D. Wayne Lucas said really took to the Oklahoma and was working great there. And I'm sure that's a similar sentiment from Kenny McPeak. So as I say, she's likely to come back up here. And for folks who aren't familiar, I always like to remind people, people might think, wait, the season's over. The horses are here. And for folks who don't realize, there is a training season up here too. It starts in April or May and goes to late October. And if you drive over by the Oklahoma early in the morning, and you can go in and that viewing stand, you can go watch the workouts over there. There's still a lot of prominent horses and horsemen with their horses working out over the Oklahoma. Again, preseason, but now at this time of year, a little post-season as well, right here at Saratoga. Torpedo Anna, again, not quite as potent as she has been in the last couple, but did get it done. Did it with a 93 buyer, which, she had the 111 in the Travers, but she was mid to high 90s prior to that. Coaching Club, the Acorn, the Kentucky Oaks, 96, 99, 95. So the 93 kind of goes with those. She gets it done. And now she moves on to the Breeders' Cup off of this win. That was her 4th grade 1 of the season. A nice season for her. She sewed up the 3-year-old filly Eclipse, probably with that Coaching Club American Oaks win. But she's certainly going to get the year-end honor there. Who who knows? She may be vying for Horse of the Year, depending on how Breeders' Cup things shake out. But Brian Hernandez, Kenny McPeak and company get it done in the Catillon yesterday. Again, one of the highlights of the day, just watching her run because she's been so good this year for McPeak and company. A little bit before that, and I said yesterday, a lot of tracks on these big days with a big 3-year-old race, a derby level race at the various venues. You do get a 3-year-old sprint race, and that was the case yesterday as well at Parx with the Gallant Bob for the 3-year-olds going 6. I liked One Sharp Cookie. Oof, that was not a good move. It was a Saffy Joseph runner coming up off a couple of starts down at Gulfstream that were very good, but was stepping into stakes company for the first time. Mike Smith was on board and wound up just kind of looking overmatched, running 7th and last in the field. I had the horse in my mix, Ben Tornado, 9-5 on the morning line. And as we talked about the races yesterday, I said, I wasn't quite buying into this one necessarily being the favorite. I had the horse in the mix. The horse was certainly a logical contender. Eventually went off at even money. And we'll see here, Ben Tornado gets it done under Irod Ortiz for Jose D'Angelo. Going to be the number 1 horse here. Kind of working in the stretch to get up by a neck. And Sunny Breeze runs second at 17-1. Bucciarino, who I also had in my mix a little bit, at 9-5 is the second choice, runs third. But again, nice race from Ben Tornado. In the 8th career start, the 5th win, and you can see just gutsy there. Will not let the 4 Sunny Breeze goes by. And at 17-1, that was a nice race from Sunny Breeze, too. I had Sunny Breeze just underneath. Again, I had One Sharp Cookie on top, Sunny Breeze over Ben Tornado. So the horses I had second and third, to me, were kind of logical. I was a little surprised at the 17-1 for Sunny Breeze. You got a $41 exacta with, again, a couple of, to me, logicals in here. But Ben Tornado, as I say, 8th career start, 5th win. Started the career out with 4 straight wins. Some of those were in the restricted 2-year-old stakes down in Florida last year for the Florida bred types. As he started the career, again, broke the maiden in the debut, won a little stake, an open stake, then was in a couple of restricted stakes last year down at Gulfstream, the Dr. Fager and the Affirmed. The In Reality wound up running third, and then went over and tried the Saudi Derby. And there was that fabulous duel on the front between Forever Young and Bookham Dano. Ben Tornado finished third behind those two. And those two have turned out, they're pretty good. Comes back from Saudi Arabia, tries a stakes race down at Charlestown and runs third as the favorite, but gets back on track yesterday. So again, there were things to like. I just, given the scenario with the trip to Saudi, the second at Charlestown, I wasn't totally convinced on that one. Had it in the mix, but wasn't totally convinced. But gets back to his winning ways yesterday in the Gallant Bob. And Ben Tornado, I don't know if I said the buyer, a solid 101 for Ben Tornado yesterday in the Gallant Bob. Here's the aforementioned turf monster. I said they had to move their stakes race after a horse had a mishap on the turf course in the first the only other turf race they ran earlier in the day, and so they elected to that announcement the track put out, an abundance of caution. They moved the turf monster out. That kind of changed things up. You wound up with a bunch of scratches and a field that originally on the turf had a field of 10 and a bunch of also eligibles, so likely to be a pretty full group on the turf, winds up to be a field of 5 on the dirt. After scratches, I was left with the number 4, Jean Valjean, who did go off as the 3-5 favorite and had trouble, stumbled at the start, and so it just was up against it at that point, but did wind up running third. The winner was Smooth B, who on the dirt probably made a lot of sense. At 3-1 was the second choice, and folks were looking and I think seeing a record recently that was more dirt, including an off-the-turf stakes win in the previous start. Smooth B going out for Parks-based trainer Butch Reed. Smooth B is the number one here, getting it done, and the chart margin is 4.5. Pretty clear between second and third as well. Talented man over Jean Valjean. So again, it was not a whole lot to say there because it was a turf sprint stake that fell apart a little bit, scratches and whatnot after the surface switch. But we'll give you a buyer at 83 for Smooth B off the turf there in the Turf Monster. A little bit earlier, it was the Parx Dirt Mile. As the name would suggest, they traveled 1 mile. And I had Film Star on top, another one where top pick didn't. It was a mixed day. Some of my picks were okay, and some of them just didn't really show up. Film Star, third choice at 3-1. The number 6 horse winds up running fifth in the field of 6. Betting Public had it. I had Coastal Mission in my mix, but down in the third slot. But the Betting Public made Coastal Mission the 7-5 favorite, and Coastal Mission does get it done over Repo Rocks. Injunction runs third. Coastal Mission give me number 7 horse here. Tried the Charlestown Classic last time and ran fourth. Before that, the Nehrude up at Belmont at Aqueduct in early July ran a decent little second. Second also on the Salvatore Mile. 3 starts back. And you can see as they get to the wire, there's a bunch there, but he'll pull away just a little bit. A chart margin winds up to be half a length. And again, it's 7-5. Repo Rocks second at 7-1. The 4 horse and number 3 Injunction runs third as the 2-1 second choice. So nice little finish there. But Coastal Mission, Betting Public had it correct. Win number 13 and start number 24. So it's a nice little runner they have here. And I'm just looking at $770,000 in the bank already. So we're just under $1 million after yesterday's win. $300,000 purse. So picks up 180 of that. So just as I say, approaching $1 million for the 5-year-old Coastal Mission. One of those horses that you'd love to own. Won 8 of 10 last year. This was only the second win this year, but again, a horse that over the career has done very, very well. Coastal Mission getting it done in the Parx Dirt Mile. And finally, we're going to take a look at one other. I said, the highlights on the day clearly were the Pennsylvania Derby and the Catillon with Torpedo Anna. But I think this was a race a lot of people were also looking forward to. And I didn't give you a buyer on Smooth B. No, not Smooth B. I didn't give you a buyer on Coastal Mission. Coastal Mission was a 92 buyer for Coastal Mission. But again, the Greenwood Cup graded marathon. There aren't a lot of graded marathons. And, there used to be, when I first got into the game, there were more distance races that were popular and graded. But these days, shopping around, folks have been saying for a while now, why doesn't Next go into Jockey Club Gold Cup or whatever? And it's you read social media, it's about 50-50. And I'm with the people who say they found what he does and they're making a lot of money. I can't knock him. And a couple of the comments were, well, gee, it's kind of no fun to watch. And he's just beating up on inferior rivals. This was a decent little field of horses who had shown some ability at distances. He's just better than them. And so, to me, it was fun to watch when you see a specialist like that. Now, betting-wise, we were 5 cents to the dollar, so you got 210 across the board. That certainly wasn't very exciting. But we're going to see here Next just dominates again. Just pulls away here on the turn. Next, obviously, the number 9 horse. Magic Michael at 12-1 will run second, and Treble Clef, the number 5, runs third. But Next just dominant. And, since they switched to these marathon type distances, he has just been so, so good. He's now 4 for 4 this year, having won the Murphy Marathon down at Churchill to start the season, then the Brooklyn, another grade 2 event, Belmont at Aqueduct, and right up here at Saratoga, we got to see him dominate in the Birdstone. And they got a field of 8 others to show up yesterday, which I was impressive to me in its own right. So next, getting it done and impressing yet again at a marathon distance. And next yesterday comes up with a 102 buyer, solid number for next in the Greenwood Cup. And they came out of this and they said, so it looks like folks will get what they want. They've done away with the marathon race Breeders' Cup weekend. They, unfortunately, but I guess it just, again, there used to be much more of this type of racing, not so much. So unfortunately, they got rid of it on Breeders' Cup weekend. But reading the comments yesterday after the race, it looks like the connections are now looking at going to a Breeders' Cup race. And it looks like they're choosing between the Classic or the Turf. And it sounded like the trainer was thinking the Turf because I think he likes the distance more, and I think he doesn't have a problem with the surface. We'll see. They said, he's got a workout coming up, probably scheduled for a couple of weeks, and they'll pull the trigger and make the decision at that point where to go. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at some of the other stakes action from around the country, Belmont and Churchill from yesterday, and a little bit later on, Anthony Stabile from Finger Lakes will join us to do a little preview of the nice stakes day tomorrow at Finger Lakes. All of that when Racing Across America continues. Stay tuned.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. It's in front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Paul Bob. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Let's jump right back in. Belmont at the Big A yesterday. The feature was the Noble Damsel. These are the ladies going a mile on the grass. Ocean Club's going to get it done here. A horse I had in the mix. I like the number 9 Midnight Mile. Another one of mine on the day did not run very well. I kind of scratched into that one because I originally had Saffron Moon for Chad Brown on top. That one scratched out, so it was a move up. But it is going to be Ocean Club getting it done for Jack Sisterson. Was the 2-1 favorite. And, as I say, I had that one down in the mix a little bit, but came out of a third at Kentucky Downs. But before that, it run decently up at Woodbine. And, made sense, certainly in the mix. Nice gutsy effort here that, again, won't let those others go by. Winds up winning by a head. It's a nose between Five Towns and Breath Away. Five Towns second, Breath Away third. They were logical. 2-1 favorite, over 4-1, over 5-1. So again, the betting public got that right with Ocean Club. Win number 5 in start number 14 for Sisterson. Frankie Dettori was named on the horse originally, but again, if you didn't hear, a couple of days ago, Thursday, I guess, separated his shoulder in the starting gate incident, and I guess he's kind of day to day. So we will see about Frankie Dettori, but Ricardo Santana on board the winner there at Belmont at the Big A with Ocean Club getting it done in the Noble Damsel. Over to Churchill, I wanted to show certainly this one, the Bourbon Flight. These are 3-year-olds going 1 mile and 3/16, and the favorite in here, 53 cents to the dollar. The favorite's batting down. Junior Alvarado down at Churchill for Belmont. Batting down was coming out of a poor performance in the Travers, but had shown some ability. Seemed to be maybe one of those 3-year-olds that was going to be worth watching as the season unfolded into summertime, coming out of the Maiden Breaker in April at Churchill, and then went over to Thistledown and won the Ohio Derby in June. And at that point, you thought, okay, this could be an interesting one to watch on the 3-year-old scene. Subsequently runs third in the Jim Dandy behind Fierceness and Sierra Leone, and then unfortunately fifth in the Travers. I say unfortunately, it was just, a little bit of a dud given what the expectations were. But it got back to the expectations yesterday. Chart margin here is 5 3/4, and he also broke the track record with this one. I don't know how often they run at 1 mile and 3/16, but regardless, a new track record set by Batten Down. And with that performance, he becomes an interesting player again on the 3-year-old scene, but maybe more importantly, now getting back to what the expectations were late in the 3-year-old season. So he becomes perhaps one that'll be worth paying a little bit of attention to going forward into the 4-year-old season next year. This, again, was a very, very good performance yesterday from Batten Down to get back to the type of performances we had seen earlier from that one. And we're looking forward to in the summer. Didn't quite work out that way. Jim Dandy and the Travers, but back on track yesterday down at Churchill. The Dogwood, wanted to show that one also because this had a little bit of a storyline to it also. The Dogwood for 3-year-old fillies going 7, and it will be the number 5, My Main Squeeze. I wanted to show this because My Main Squeeze, a New York bred. My Main Squeeze getting it done, the number 5 horse, Luis Saez on board for Mike Maker. Spent the early portion of the career in New York facing New York breds and had done very well. But this year has stepped out against Open Company, won the 8 Bells Derby weekend at Churchill Downs. Last couple of starts, third in the test, second in the Charlestown Oaks, and gets back to her winning ways yesterday in the Grade 3 Dogwood. So New York bred stepping in against Open Company and winning pretty convincingly there. Chart margins 5 lengths. That was career start 12, career win number 6. And when you get a horse that wins 50% of the starts, that's pretty good. That win puts her up near 180. That puts her over $1 billion. So My Main Squeeze, if I'm doing my math correctly, and I believe I am, My Main Squeeze, little 3-year-old filly, New York bred, millionaire. That's impressive. So again, the New York bred program, we talk about it a lot up at Saratoga, but it is certainly it has changed since when I first got into the game, and My Main Squeeze becomes one of the clear demonstrations of that, with $1 million in 12 starts and 6 wins as a 3-year-old filly. That's quite an accomplishment for her. All right, we'll take a break. There were a couple of more stakes, but Honro got it done in the Harrods Creek, and in the Seneca, it was Miss Justify for Todd Pletcher. Maybe interesting. That's another one that had shown some ability, hadn't quite lived up to it. Won the Wilton this year up at Saratoga, and then ran 4th. Was contending and faded to 4th behind Power Squeeze in the Alabama, but she gets back to her winning ways. She's a lightly raced 3-year-old filly, probably worth keeping our eyes on, as we get to later in this 3-year-old season. But again, at this point, now it starts to become a horse that's interesting to maybe think about going forward in the 4-year-old season as well. All right, that gives you some ideas of the stakes action yesterday. And again, horses to watch as we now progress to Breeders' Cup and beyond. So we'll take a break. We've done a little review. We'll do a little preview now. Nice stakes day tomorrow. 3 stakes tomorrow up at Finger Lakes. We'll talk to our friend Anthony Stabile and get a little preview of that action coming up upstate tomorrow right after this. Stay tuned. Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer. Wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at capitalotb.com.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, we did a little review of some of the stakes action yesterday. Now we'll do a little preview coming up tomorrow at Finger Lakes. Nice stakes day tomorrow. 3 nice stakes, and we'll talk about those. Who else? The Big A, Anthony Stabile. Anthony, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. What's up? Been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. We've been up in Saratoga, and up there we don't do the phone as much. We're all live up there. And then we had 1 week back, and then last week we were up at Woodbine, so we kind of drove by Finger Lakes, but we're headed up your way in probably a month, less than a month. We're going to be up there on another Stakes Monday, I believe. So we're looking forward to that. When we went up there about this time last year, again in October, about the same time we're planning, it was a beautiful summer day. So see if you can get that weather again for our visit coming up.
You got it. I'll put the order in when we hang up later. Yeah, no problem. Maybe we could serve up another pick 6 too. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what we're looking forward to. No question about it. But as I say, we haven't talked any notable anything we should keep up with over that's happened over the summer. I see, jockey and trainer battles are going on up there, and Kai Barkoa is riding really well up there, but what should we know about coming into the upcoming, as you said when we went on the air, still about a third of the meet left. Anything we should note going into that last 8 or 10 weeks?
Yeah, officially 10 weeks left, exactly 2/3 of the meet in the bush, and you had that one Wednesday that we didn't run. So 91 becomes 90, and we got a couple of 9 race cards coming up. Yeah, Cabers, and you and I talked about this when I first started doing these hits with you on Sunday mornings. He's a kid that I've always watched ride, and I always thought had some potential. And whatever was holding him back, for the lack of a better term, the last 2 seasons doesn't seem to be. He is riding lights out. Really good at switching sticks, putting horses in the right place. He has impressed me tremendously up there. We have listen, it's Finger Lakes, right? That's people will look at it like that. And we got a fun little colony up there. There's a kid, Anthony Rodriguez from Puerto Rico, who's making his first meet in the United States. He's having a really nice meet from limited starters and, riding a lot of mid-priced horses and getting them home. Andre Warry's a staple up there. Jackie wins her share of races. We've had the kid Jeremiah Flores that rides mostly for Paul Barrow. He's a good rider. Like there's a nice little bunch of riders up there, but Kibber really is sticking out there. He's got I think it's a double-digit lead on Andre. And Mike Ferraro Jr., that's the middle initial A. I'm 99% sure he has. I haven't seen the standings yet. Austin hasn't put him up. I haven't seen him, but I think he has a double-digit lead on Chris Englehart and Paul Barrow, our defending champion from last year. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a fun meet. It's been interesting, both professionally and personally. I found out what a garbage plate was. We got tomorrow. Tomorrow will be very popular on Labor. We had more people on Labor Day than we had on Independence Day and Memorial Day, and I believe part of the reason was these Wago hot dogs. Have you had these things?
No,
they're pretty good. Tomorrow, yeah, if you're out in the area tomorrow, $2 Waggles, $1.50 fountain sodas. I've been joking around everybody. You know, Frankie Dettori was supposed to be there tomorrow. I don't know if he's coming. But at the very least, if we don't have Frankie, you're going to have Frank. So it's not really that big of a deal. Just come on out and have a good day. 3 steaks. We got to carry over the pick six tomorrow. Just shy of $2,000. Mondays, we usually get a pretty good handle on the pick six, especially with a little bit of a carryover. And 3 of the 6 races of the stakes we're going to talk about.
I like it. And our friend Mike McAdam, the racing writer up at Saratoga during the summer for the Gazette, is a Rochester native. So he has explained the garbage plate to me.
Yeah, they brought it up to me one day, and I was just like, let me see what this thing's all about. It's kind of weird. It's like, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. I love Game of Thrones. But the ingredients to Game of Thrones, the zombies, the witches, all of it. I mean, except the nudity, I'm not really into any of the components of Game of Thrones. But when you throw it all together, it's absolutely my favorite show of all time. That's kind of the thing with the garbage plate. Like, I'm not putting a hamburger on top of macaroni salad ordinarily. But these folks in Rochester, they got their finger on the pulse. They know what you got to do up there. So, yeah, I mean, I had one garbage plate. One was enough. I think one was enough.
Well, as Mike explains it,
I'm sure Mike has had his share.
Yeah, as Mike has explained it, I think it's one of those things. And I remember the same type when my early days back in Amsterdam, my hometown, there was the late night place. And it was the late night place. It was like a Friday or Saturday night. That's maybe when the garbage plate comes into play, when you're not too particularly discerning, but it looks pretty good at that point of the evening. Let's put it. That's what it has sounded like. On the jockey side of things, wasn't Ray Lou in town recently? Didn't he pop in for a couple of days?
Yeah, he graced us with his presence. Speaking of Game of Thrones, they play the trumpets at Rochester Airport, and they do everything they can when Ray Lou comes in. There's a red carpet that goes the entire length of the 22 miles when he graces us with his presence at Farmington now. Yeah, he came in to see the folks, and, he still has a home up there. I don't know if he's around tomorrow. You know what? It's funny. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's going back to Cali. I don't know what he's doing. He had a good summer, so I would assume he's going back to Cali because he spent a couple of days up by us last week when Churchill was running. So I don't think Kentucky's in the cards. I think maybe he's going back to California. So yeah, Ray Lou. Katie Davis took a trip up this summer. Got to catch up with Katie, which was nice. She was searching for number 300, which she got over the weekend down at Aqueduct, here at Aqueduct. So, but yeah, she took a couple of shots up there, and to no avail. A couple of second place finishes for Rudy Rodriguez, and yeah, it's been fun. I've had some visitors in and out of the booth, and met some new friends, and it's been. I'm a big weather geek, so I'm looking forward to the fall foliage. That 5-hour ride. You need a little breakup every now and then, so I'm looking forward to seeing the leaves change the next few weeks, heading on up to the lakes.
I am fall leads into winter, so fall ranks 3rd on my season. I go summer, spring, fall, and winter, so I'm not quite as thrilled to see the leaves start, but they are already. It was really probably the last week of Saratoga. There was a couple of trees that were outliers, but they were leading the way. I was disappointed with that, but yeah, so far so good though. The weather's been very nice, and I expect. Do you know what the forecast is for tomorrow?
There's some showers in the area. I'm hoping it doesn't affect the track too much. I have to tell you this. It always sounds like you're shilling, but obviously there's no shill when it involves these people. The track maintenance team and the gate crew do not get enough credit. Yeah, I don't want to jinx the gate crew. We don't have horses run off up there. And you would think, you have lower level claiming horses, they are, it's, and I have a lot of good friends. I have guys that I know for 40 years on the Naira gate crew. It's the best gate crew I've ever seen. They are unbelievable. They get these horses to load, and they know they know their horses, that population, like the back of their hands. And no gate crew gets enough credit. These guys and gals, we have a few women on the gate crew up there. They do a remarkable job on a daily basis. So tip of the hat to them. And the track maintenance crew, yeah. I'm hoping the weather doesn't affect it too much. And they do a pretty good job getting the water off of that track up there. So I would imagine we're going to have a fast track, I guess, unless the rain really comes in. And it's a little unpredictable because of the, that lake effect stuff. When you're 350 miles away in New York City, you laugh at them. And then you get stuck in the middle of a tornado. Yeah. And you're like, oh, this is real. So, you never know what's going to happen, but I'm hoping for a fast track. No, I'm handicapping for a fast track. I'll put it to you like that.
From my days up at SU Syracuse, when I was going to school there, the wintertime, the storm would blow in off the lake, and that would be before we get to Finger Lakes, let me ask you a couple of other questions. Any thoughts yesterday? Seize the Gray, Torpedo Anna?
Yeah, I mean, how are you going to let him go 49-1 on the front end? I mean, the horse won the Preakness, right? I mean, the horse, regardless of what you thought of the Preakness field and what you think of the crop, the horse won the Preakness. And the horse is walking on a race, walking around the track with a length and a half lead, doing 49 and change. I like the fact that when he got hooked, he re-rallied and just ran away from those horses. So that was a nice effort. I don't know. Is it him? Is it Dornock? I think that the head of the division is one of those two at this point. And then the filly is just remarkable because people can say, well, it wasn't a good trip. No, that was a horrible trip yesterday. It was a horrible trip. I don't think you've probably never seen a rider win a race that would want the ride back more than you saw Ryan Hernandez yesterday. I don't think he did that much wrong. It's just circumstances led him. But she's just when people say, I hate when people use the word great. And in our business, I think it really gets trumped up way too much. But she just oozes class, and she's just a great filly. I mean, she really digs in, and she knows her job. And, she's just really, she's a treat, a real treat to watch in this 3-year-old season.
Yeah, I agree totally with both of those points. And finally, going back the other day, we were showing it here on the network, and I was actually doing some handicapping. Delaware County Fair, Captain Albano gets it done in the Little Brown Jug. And I'm curious, I'd love to go out sometime, Delaware County Fair, because it seems like complete Americana. But I know you're a harness guy as well. You called down at Yonkers. Have you ever gotten out to the Delaware County Fair in the Jug?
No, just come grab me next year. Just come swing by.
Maybe we will.
Maybe we'll go down Thursday. Yeah. I'm game. Yeah, I mean, there's 411 races that day, so we'll hit at least 300 of them. So last year when I was calling Yonkers, I remember watching them at Yonkers with my boss Alex, and this year I watched a few races. I hate the fact that it looked a little speed bias all day. And it's really, I'd much rather even, and it happened in our sport too, but especially on one of those, on the half mile like that, if it gets to a speed bias track, but he was good. He's really good. And looking forward to seeing how the Breeders' Crown and the rest of the fall shakes out. That's the rest of the fall. It just started 3 hours ago. So the fall shakes out in the harness game as well. Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, they were really putting up some times. I got into the game. Yeah. I got into the game because I went to Saratoga Harness. Then eventually I went over to the thoroughbred side, but I still love the harness. But, man, when I first got into the game, you broke 2 minutes. Their fireworks went off and flags were waving. But the times they were putting up the other day, it's a new game. It was fun. Like I say, I'd love to go.
Last summer when I was at Yonkers, one of my favorite horses that I called over there is really nice. He's a nice open horse, Covered Bridge, multiple stakes winner. He's nice, really, really, really nice horse for the Scrantons. He went at Yonkers on a Thursday night, 49-3. And I was just, I'm calling it, and I see them put up like 122-2 for 3 quarters. And I trust my teletimer guy at Yonkers. My man Jared was there at the time. I trusted Jared. And I was like, sure, really just went 22 and change for 3 quarters. These might break 50. And I got really excited to call a harness race.
Yeah.
I was excited to call Yonkers, period, but to call a harness race in sub 150 is pretty special. He smashed the track record, as you would imagine. So for an older pacer. So, it's a different game than when we were younger.
No, it's and you can explain it with the makeup and the composition, how the bikes and whatnot. It's different. It's different and explain it, but it's eye popping when I look at these times. All right, let's get into it. Tomorrow at the Finger Lakes, 3 nice stakes races. Kicks off in race 3 with the Lady Fingers. 2-year-old fillies going 5.5. I pulled up a replay of Idle Gossip. Idle Gossip. Off of this win is certainly going to take a lot of action, but bolted in the first start, and in this one bore out a little bit. And so I'm curious to see what we're going to get from Idle Gossip tomorrow. But as I say, I think she's going to take a lot of action. Who's got the tip? The number 1 horse off the win is maybe a little bit interesting. The horse that obviously is probably going to vie with Idle Gossip is the Chris Engelhart runner, Princess Mischief. But how did you see the Lady Finger?
Yeah, I'd imagine Stone Smuggler is going to take some money as well. Stone Smuggler and Princess Mischief come out of the race. And you go watch with the Angels today in the first at the Big A. Idle Gossip first time out was home Jerome, and she just kept going straight. Thankfully, nothing happened. I'm pretty tight with Paul Barrow. And, I was out that week. I was battling some health issues, and thankfully everything's okay. And then, I talked to him after the race, and she's okay. He's like, I can't believe it, but she's okay. And, you can tell that by coming back in less than 4 weeks. I hope Matt's not listening. Matt's our Echo-based guy up there. I don't agree with the bore-out comment. I think Jeremiah's just kind of let her do her thing. I can only imagine when the blinkers go on and she hits the far turn, he has to have flashbacks to her going straight and running through the fence. So I don't think he completely just set her down and let her go. I would imagine, Paul's done some work with him now, a couple of breezes. I would imagine that there's a lot more confidence now. 2 races under her belt. She behaved last time. I know the filly that ran second, the connections are high on her. They feel like she needs some more ground, and she was getting to Idle Gossip. But all things considered, with everything she went through in her first 28 days of racing, she's been very impressive. I told you we have a pick 6. It starts in race 3 tomorrow. She'll be my single.
All right.
I'm not worried about the 2 maidens. Yeah, I'm not worried about the 2 maidens. Paul has her going right, and she's a nice little filly. And Paul Stumper's a 2-year-old. Paul does not run a lot of 2-year-olds. He's like 40%. It's really a scary figure with 2-year-olds. Jeez. And most of them are sprinting on the dirt because Paul spends the bulk of the time with his 2-year-olds at Finger Lakes. He'll run 1 or 2 down at the Big A or Saratoga, but bulk of them are up there. So those are Finger Lakes numbers, and 39% of 18 starters with a 352 ROI. He knows how to get these horses ready, especially up there. So I know her. Idle Gossip and Georgia Braves filly, the 2 Stone Smuggler and Princess Bishop have similar buyer figures, but Idle Gossip really impressed me.
As you said that, I'm looking at the DRF stats, and 39% with 18 2-year-olds, but that 352. So he's about 7 for 18, but the ROI is insane. All right, let's take a look at race number 7, the Aspirant for State Breds. Well over $130,000 up for grabs, going 5.5. And I pulled up a replay. I went obvious here with Bostonian, Wesley Ward runner, and New York bred. But this is the debut effort. The lone start so far down at Churchill. Gets it done by over a length. That was back in June. So coming back off a layup and working down at Keeneland. Obviously, with these connections in this debut, Bostonian going to take a lot of action. But how did you see the Aspirant?
Yeah, you got to like the fact that he did not win like a typical Wesley Ward 2-year-old by 47 lengths. He got himself involved in some battles. He was alternating on the lead throughout, and he had a couple of horses come to. That was a real professional effort, And you'd have to think that him shipping him here. is probably, I think it's a good sign because it's a nice spot to come back in. I'm sure if he had a race under his belt, it would be a different story, but it's a nice spot to come back in. You know, he has a maiden on the rail. He has a couple of first-time starters, 3 first-time starters to be exact, to his outside. A maiden on the outside. So there's 5 maidens in here. I wouldn't worry too much about King's Leap from the Ferraro Junior barn, even though he got the money last time. That was not the fastest bunch of maidens he's ever going to see. I think Paul's Colt, Mr. Sugar Daddy, now he's by Blame. I know Stephen got even there. He was real good on debut. He was able to go to the lead and just kind of maintain. And then when they turned for home, he just left them. Now, again, he didn't beat much. The horse Brink, they finished second, has run 5 times already. Ofer, he's the maiden on the rail. But Paul's Colt was real good in his debut. And I know Wesley's not going to come here for the Zweigels. Wesley's coming here to grab that winner's share. I mean, the purse is so big. We had 3 supplements in there for over $15,000. So there's 3 supplements in here. One of them being the horse I think you got to keep an eye on, and we made him one of my favorites, soon to be King. George Weaver just missed in the funny side, the Moplex. Well, Moplex would be any price in here. This horse for George Weaver's been good. And, coming in from the Stakes faced and Naira faced, you'd have to imagine he's going to be tough. But it's a fun race. I don't think it's just soon to be King's race. I don't think they're just putting the money in their account, because I think Mr. Sugar Daddy was really good first time out. And I'll tell you what, the other 2, soon to be King and Boston Tony. Boston Tony might be a little bit faster than my Sugar Daddy, but Mr. Sugar Daddy. But let's see what happens off the layoff and just how sharp he actually is. I know Paul's Colt can fly early, so we'll see how that shakes out.
I'm going to be interested to see where the betting public eventually goes, because the morning line, I think the morning line's right with soon to be King, with the 2 nice stakes tries already, including the Sanford, ran 5th in there, but trying Open Company was notable. Has finished behind Moplex, the nice Jeremiah runner, in both of those races. So I think the morning line is probably, but Boston Tony with the connections of Wesley Ward, I'm just interested to see how that all shakes out. And my Sugar Daddy, I'm seeing owned by Richie Rich. I met Rick of Richie Rich up in the booth when we were up visiting you last time, and then said hello to him just a few weeks ago when he had his horse running at Saratoga. The horse that was running that day was running up at Saratoga, so I passed him in the clubhouse, and we said hello that day. That was fun to get to meet him and do a little interview for TV with him up in your booth when we were there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Rich, good guy, and all the connections. Of the 3 stakes, the Aspirant's the one I'm really looking forward to the most, because I think Mr. Sugar Daddy's okay. Always excited to see a Wesley Ward runner come in, and we'll see what George Weaver's horse can do. Soon to be King, a couple of really good races, one at Aqueduct, one at Saratoga. We'll see how it shakes out. This is the race I'm looking forward to the most tomorrow.
I agree. It looks like a lot of fun. And wrap up the stakes in race number 8, the Leon Reed Memorial. 6 furlongs the trip. I pulled up a replay of the Morrissey up at Saratoga. It's going to be Looms Boldly for Marshall Graham and 10 Strike, Brad Cox, Florent Giroux scheduled to ride. This horse has been at the Finger Lakes before, won the Ontario up there last year, so has experience over the track, comes in off this nice win at Saratoga. But Rotney is certainly talented. There's a couple others in here that are a little bit interesting if you're shopping around, but what did you see in the read?
Well, in a weird way, Seth, the race kind of goes through Rotney, right? Because if he breaks and he's in the 2-hole with Looms Boldly in the 5-hole, he has to go.
Yeah.
And I know Time Form has Looms Boldly faster. I'm not too, I'm not the biggest fig guy. Circumstance dictates that Rotney's faster in here. Now, Rotney stumbled at the start last time. He didn't really have his speed too back. They went 44. But I would imagine Andre Warren and Mike Naker are going to just take it to Looms Boldly early in here. And, the Finger Lakes, the one really flying the Finger Lakes flag is Jack and Bernie. He is 6 for 8 at Finger Lakes with a second. Lone Tommy was off the board, was in this Leon Reed Memorial last year. That was over a sloppy track. So of all the connections, I would imagine Deb Breed and Sherry Washburn, trainer and owner, are the ones doing the anti-rain dance, if you will. They want a fast track for their son of Destin. And he is Hickory, man. He is just so good. He almost won that race at Saratoga. That would have been a lot of fun to see them in the winner's circle up there. He ran his eyeballs out proverbially. Now, he could very well be faster than the other two, but he's drawn outside of the other two speeds. So I think Joel Cruz has to make the decision. If you put him on the quote-unquote cruise control, like we like to say in Farmington, and just blast them and get around them and make the other speeds chase, or if you don't feel like you're that much faster and you got to work out the trip. It'll be curious to see how this one unfolds. I told you I was looking most forward to the Aspirant. I'm looking forward to this race just because the three main contenders are all one. They're all need to lead types. So, could it set up something? I'm going to tell you a horse that I thought at a huge price, and he's got to be a huge price for me. It's Pompous Prince. Pompous Prince reeled off a couple of wins to start the season. He finished a distant second to Jack and Bernie, and then he finished fourth in that allowance race. And then last time he was a little closer than normal. He can't be close tomorrow. Cabro's going to take him back and rip and run, make one run. I think if they heat up early, he's the kind of horse, and he's going to be 8, 10, 12 to 1. Pompous Prince coming on. I'm going to use him in the pick six. I'm going to check my guts tonight before making my final selections. I might put him on top because I think this thing can really, really, really heat up. And these three horses have all shown that they need the lead to do their best running. So I think we could see that proverbial World War III on the front end here in Leon Reed tomorrow. Maybe a horse like Pompous Prince can pick him up and lay him down late in the game.
I agree. I think about a furlong into this race, it's going to be fun to see where they're all placed. Really nice stakes day tomorrow. All three of them offer some intrigue and some storylines, and looking forward to the Monday card at the Finger Lakes to, as you say, kick off the last third of the meet. Anthony, as always, appreciate the conversation. Glad to get a chance to talk to you after a few months up at Saratoga, but we wish you and everybody good luck tomorrow up at the Finger Lakes on a big day, and we'll talk again.
Same here, yourself. We'll talk to you soon. Good luck, everyone.
Appreciate it. The big A, Anthony Stabile, ahead of a big day, really nice day. And again, all three of those stakes look like a lot of fun tomorrow up at the Finger Lakes. All right, let me remind you that today here at the Clubhouse Racebook, it is NFL Sunday, football Sunday here at the Racebook. You can watch all the NFL action, all the racing action right here at the Clubhouse Racebook every Sunday throughout the NFL season. And got the strobe effect going with the football Sundays. You can play the horses, you can watch the games, you can win some prizes even. Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. I'll be back, about an hour and a half or so to kick off OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon. We'll take a look at some Belmont at Aqueduct and some Churchill, but we'll have some Woodbine in the mix. Saratoga Harness will also be in the mix on this Sunday afternoon. So fun Sunday afternoon ahead. Looking forward to it. Tune back in for OTB Live again sooner rather than later. But we'll wrap it up now for Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow in the studio. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in a few.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
We'd like to thank Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine open now through December, featuring great racing, including the King's Plate coming up in August, Turf Champions Day with the Woodbine Mile in September, and much, much more. Woodbine Racing, great racing north of the border.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.